Welcome to Experian Exchange, featuring exclusive interviews with all the latest news and insights with Experian's business leaders. In today's fast-moving digital landscape, advertisers are navigating a maze of data, platforms, and privacy expectations. The key to cutting through all that noise is connectivity. When data works together, campaigns get smarter and more impactful. So what does that look like in practice? Well, joining me today is Kim Gilberti, Executive Vice President and General Manager of Marketing Services at Experian North America. Kim, welcome to the program. Great to have you with us.
Great to be here. Thank you.
So in the current advertising landscape, why is connectivity important and how do you define it?
Sure. So as a starting point, there is a tremendous amount of dollars that gets spent in the advertising industry. And in 2026 alone, we expect to see nearly $400 billion in digital ad spend. So making sure that we have advertising that is reaching the right consumer, that's getting to them with the right compelling message, and ultimately is leading to action is really the goal of any brand or any advertiser. And the way they do that truly is connectivity. Because in today's world, consumers are inundated with content, inundated with ads on many devices in many different places, wherever they may be on any given moment of the day, they're going to be exposed to ads. And really connecting that user anywhere and everywhere they may go is key to optimizing that advertising spend.
And I guess connectivity, particularly in today's landscape, where we're seeing increasing amounts of fragmented data, complex data ecosystems and silos. So what advice do you have for brands on how they can really unify data when it comes to boosting personalization and having impactful campaigns?
So it's a real challenging aspect of the industry that every brand is facing in some way. When people visit their website, they really want to understand who that person is. If they decide to buy something, obviously, what did they buy? But if they didn't buy something, how do I attract them to come back again? If they put things in their cart and they've abandoned it, how do I get them to come back? And if they bought something, how do I get them to buy more? How do I find other consumers that are similar? And the solutions that we provide at Experian are really designed to help with those specific use cases. We have a series of digital identity solutions that help really unify the profile of a consumer from website to website, app to app, device to device, so that we know that it's Kim Gilberti who is exposed to the ad on this particular web page, who is the same Kim Gilberti who's also watching a program on television and is exposed to an ad again. So really unifying that experience is the key to really making sure you're reaching the right consumer.
So Kim, can you give me a specific example of where this has worked in the real world? Like how has connecting all this fragmented data really turned into boosting campaign performance or increasing customer engagement?
Of course. So we worked recently with an independent agency that was representing a travel brand, and they were spending quite a lot of money in digital advertising. And they certainly knew what bookings they were making from a travel perspective, but they really didn't know if there was a correlation between the two. So were people who saw my ad more likely to book travel, or was it really just coincidence? So they really wanted to know that benefit that was being driven by advertising. So we worked together with the agency to collect all of the exposures of where people were being made accessible to ads that were for that particular company. We tied that back to our identity graph and were able to in turn tie that to their individual bookings. So we were able to say, here are the consumers that actually booked travel that were exposed to ads. Here are all of the consumers that were exposed to ads that didn't buy anything. And then we were able to segment them. And what they found was that those who were actually exposed to the ad campaign ultimately spent more on their travel than those who were not.
But privacy regulations are changing rapidly in the industry. So again, your advice to organizations about really striking that right balance between leveraging data, but respecting customers' privacies.
You always have to remember that the consumer is first. And that's really what we always keep in mind at Experian. However, we collect data is always done with privacy in mind, and working with a brand like Experian, where we put every thought and effort into making sure we're compliant with state laws, which can get very complicated, that we are ahead of what's coming, that we have our own guardrails and guidelines to make sure we are protecting the consumer, really is able to build that confidence with brands that they are using data that is, aligned to all best practices.
Identity resolution in particular, tell me how is that shaping smarter advertising and in which areas do you see the most breakthrough?
Sure. So Today's ads are much shorter and much quicker and much more sparse than they were in the past. So personalization becomes really, really critical, and making sure that you understand enough about the consumer to give them the message that's going to mean the most to them. So really where the innovation has been seen is in that personalization and using identity to get a much more crisp message to the consumer.
Looking ahead, what are the emerging technologies or trends you believe are going to have the biggest impact on the future of data-driven marketing?
Without question, it's artificial intelligence. And if you come back to that personalization point, the importance of getting the right message to the consumer, that's a lot easier and a lot faster to do when you have all of these new technologies and capabilities. And it really opens up the door for smaller brands that don't have huge ad budgets to have that same ability as some of the big guys.
Kim Gilberti, thank you so much for joining us on Experian Exchange.
Thank you.